What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Pick Six Podcast, CBS Sports Daily NFL Podcast. I'm Will Brinson. I'm your host. It's time for some early Week 16. Week 16 betting, trends, odds, look-ahead lines, picks, all of it. Joining me as he powers through his own personal flu game. It's been going on for like a week, Breech. Hello, I'm John Breech, everybody. The Bengals won? You took down Tom Brady?
Fixed everything. There's no more flu anymore. I'm good to go. I am here to make the picks. I don't want to let anybody down. We're on a roll, Brinson. 3-1, including last week where I picked the Bengals. 21-12-3 on the season. Let's keep the roll going. I'm not missing anything. Do I sound okay, or do I sound like I was sick previously? Oh, we lost Brinson. So apparently I sound okay. I sound good enough. I'm just going to host the show. You know what? Let's get straight to my 4 early best bets for Week 16. Number 1, I am going to keep riding the Cincinnati Bengals. They are an early 3.5-point favorite over the New England Patriots. That game is in Foxborough on Saturday, Christmas Eve. And remember, the games, most of them are being played on Saturday this week. Hey, welcome back, Brinson.
Yeah, you know, Breech, you know how the NFL is a $15 billion business and they can't figure out how to spot footballs correctly? It's like Google is like a $40 billion business and they can't make Chrome not crash just because, come on, man. What are we doing here? Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Brinson, there are other internet browsers.
You
just throw Chrome under the bus. No, so I was just talking about how most of the games this week are being played on Christmas Eve.
Yep.
So a lot of Saturday games, more than usual.
Really cool of the NFL to have an 8:15 Christmas Eve game too.
My God.
Come on, guys.
And then 3 Christmas games, then your normal Thursday game, normal Monday game. And my first best bet, which I was also getting to, is Bengals. They are currently favored 3.5 over the Patriots. And look, we saw what happened on Sunday against the Buccaneers. The Bengals played probably their worst first half of the season and still won by double digits, still covered the spread comfortably. And we saw what happened to the Patriots, where they played the most bizarre game of the year. Their defense had a total meltdown. Before we even get to the crazy play, they gave up an 81-yard touchdown drive to Derek Carr in the final 2 minutes, and then gave the game away with the most absurd lateral offensive play I've ever seen. Belichick is going to cut everyone. So I don't know how you mentally rebound from a loss like that, especially on a short week. And I know the coach is going to say, well, 24-hour rule, you just get over it. That is a loss you kick yourself over.
Patriots are at 19% chance to make the playoffs. And if they win that game, they're like, what are they, 8-6, and they're just right there with the chance. It's a really, really tough loss.
Right. I mean, this thing, it damages their playoff hopes badly. Both teams are going to be desperate because the Bengals want to stay in front of the Ravens for the AFC North title. They want to stay in the running for the number 1 overall seed. But you know what, Brinson? The Cincinnati Bengals have the best record against the spread in the NFL this year, and I'm going to keep riding the Bengals train. So I like Cincinnati here.
Something exciting happened while we were talking. Okay, who's to say? Just kidding. Something exciting happened. I tend to agree with you, and I think that the Bengals are the play. Let me ask you this, and this is really not about I would have a hard time taking the Patriots in this spot. Do you, especially given their I believe they're 7-2 against 7-3 now against non-playoff teams, and just can't beat any good teams like 0-4, 0-5. Bengals are a very good team. They're playing their best football right now. Joe Burrow is not scared of anyone. At what point are we going to stop saying, and when I say we, I mean me. At what point are we going to stop saying it's Bill Belichick or it's Tom Brady? Because I feel like I've been burned a lot by this lately, and this feels like a spot where it's like Belichick getting 3.5 at home against Zach Taylor. This is not a free square, but it's like I'm going to take the sharp side and take the Patriots. The Bengals are just a much better football team right now.
Yeah, and look, there is some. Your logic isn't crazy to keep thinking like that, because the Patriots should have won Sunday. That's sure. Really what it comes. It took 2 crazy things happening, and crazy things happen in the NFL. So I don't think you can discount
Week 15 Sunday, by the way.
Right. And so I don't think you can discount that thinking. But yes, eventually you do have to get to the point and say, look, this just one team is way more talented than the other team. It doesn't matter who the other team's coach is. The much more talented team should win and cover.
Yep. And I think that team is the Cincinnati Bengals. So what's up next for you, Breecherson?
Ooh, got to take a sip of water between so I can keep talking.
Sorry, I should have recognized you were drinking water.
Number 2 one here is the Raiders going to Pittsburgh and 2.5 point underdogs here. Look, we talked about this a little bit last week when we took the Raiders over the Raiders are one of the hottest teams in the NFL. They have won 4 of their past 5 games. Sure, it took a miracle in Vegas on Sunday to beat the Patriots, but a win is a win. Yep. And so now they're getting a Steelers team. And Brinson, you just talked about how the Patriots only beat up on bad teams. You want a fun fact about the Steelers? The Steelers are 4-0 against NFC South teams this year. They beat the Panthers on Sunday.
Hey, Breech, what's the Steelers' record?
They are 2-8 against everyone else.
Yikes.
So when they have played any team outside the NFC South, they are most likely losing. So basically, when they play a good team, they're usually losing. I just think the Raiders have a better offense. You would take Derek Carr or whatever quarterback the Steelers put out there, whether it's Kenny Pickett, Trubisky, and maybe even Mason Rudolph. You would take Devontae Adams over the Steelers' number 1 receiver. You would take Josh Jacobs over the Steelers' top running back. So it's just like, I feel like the Raiders are a slightly better team. The weather here does scare me. I think it's going to be 15, 16 degrees. I don't love Derek Carr in the cold weather, but Josh McDaniels coached for so long in New England. He'll coach Derek up and be like, look, man, this is what we got to do if we're going to win in cold weather. So I'm going to ride the Raiders.
When you look at the 2 other wins that you mentioned, so the Steelers, are 2-8 in their other games. Their other 2 wins outside of the NFC South are week 1, that really super weird, bizarre overtime game against
Burrow, 5 interceptions off an appendectomy.
Chase McDaniels did. Chase McDaniels. What am I? Evan McPherson. Who is Chase McDaniels? I called Dexter Lawrence Dexter Williams earlier. This is, who knows what this recap pod's going to sound like. But Evan McPherson, the Bengals kicker, was missing his holder in that game, right? What didn't he like? Shank it, like he missed a bunch of kicks.
The long snapper got injured.
That's right. The long snapper got injured
at the end of the game that would have won it, and then missed field goal in overtime.
And their other win, again outside of the NFC South, is against the Indianapolis Colts, I believe, at that point in time, coached by Jeff Saturday, right? Sure. Yes, coached by Jeff Saturday. So yeah, Steelers are not very good, and we can laugh about them and like point at them and be like, ha ha, while Wilson's not here. Boom! How was that not Tony Kornheiser with him? Moving on. I agree with you. I think you cannot take the Steelers.
We need to find out which actor that is.
I know. What you got next?
Next up, the Seahawks, 10-point underdogs against the Chiefs. Look, here's a fun fact for you, Brinson. The last 15 games this season where there has been a double-digit underdog, the underdog has gone 12-3 against the spread. It is just, every team is so even now. We saw it on Sunday. The Chiefs were favored by 14.5 over the Texans, went to overtime. We saw it the week before the Texans and the Cowboys.
Yep.
Double digits, still close. It's just, you don't see blowouts as often. And when we do see blowouts, it's in games where you don't suspect it to happen. So these double-digit point spread games, it just seems like it's smarter to take the underdog. And also, the Seahawks are going to be playing for their season. They are 7-7. If they lose here, their playoff hopes are pretty much out the door. So I think they're going to be pretty desperate, and I think they're going to keep this close. I don't think I'm going to pick them to win, but I do think they can keep it within 10.
So this is the first one that matches up with one of my line moves that we'll talk about after the break, but we'll go ahead and mention this one now. I don't see how this doesn't come down. I don't think it gets below 7 because the Chiefs are a very good football team and they're playing great football, and they have Travis Kelce, who looked pissed off on Sunday, and Patrick Mahomes is right there in the MVP race, and the defense is better than people think. But 10 points, it's like double digits against a playoff caliber team like the Seahawks that has DK Metcalf. Tyler Lockett's going to miss this game. He's out for the rest of the season, more than likely, I believe, with a broken finger. Geno Smith has had 2 bad games, as we argued about on the Thursday night podcast. But this Seahawks team has enough firepower and juice to stick with the Colts and stick with the Chiefs. Good Lord. I can't say anything right tonight. And we'll keep it, I think, within the 10. I think this line comes down. It's almost like nerve wracking that it's like, you're like 10.
Why is it so big?
To me, that was, sometimes the line's just a line. That was the most obvious, bizarre line, except for maybe one other one that we'll get to in a minute. You got one more best bet. What you got?
Buccaneers are favored by 3.5 over the Arizona Cardinals on Christmas Day. You would think, after watching what happened against the Bengals on Sunday, that I would stay far, far away from Tampa Bay. But no, I'm going to ride Tom Brady and the Buccaneers, and I am going to say they cover on Christmas Day against the Cardinals. Look, what we saw from the Buccaneers in the first half, where they started using motion. Tom Brady was sniffing out the defenses. they looked pretty dominant. If they didn't totally melt down the third quarter, they probably beat the Bengals, or at least it goes 34-31, something crazy. And so that first half Buccaneers team, I think that's what we'll see against the Cardinals. The Cardinals don't have a great offense, or even if the Buccaneers turn it over twice, Arizona can't take advantage of that. Colt McCoy's banged up. They just got beat up by the Broncos. And you know what? Tampa Bay really finally actually needs to win a game, because their lead in the NFC South is dwindled down to one game. Everybody's tied for second place at 5-9, and they have the Buccaneers at 6-8. So they really can't afford any more losses. Before, they kind of could afford it, so they weren't as desperate as I think they'll be on Christmas Day. I think they roll the Cardinals.
Yeah, Arizona not playing exceptional football at the moment, down to, clearly you got Colt McCoy hurt, Kyler Murray's out for the year, Trace McSorley involved. And I think one of the other things too is that Cliff Kingsbury, I think, and we'll talk about this more in the recap, and we'll also talk about why the Buccaneers did look actually pretty decent on Sunday. I'm sure Wilson will yell at me like, "What do you think about your Buccaneers?" The Cardinals are checked out, but Cliff Kingsbury feels like his job might be safe now because of the way that things have unfolded with that organization, even unless they lose out. Obviously, anything's on the table. But Tampa Bay fighting for the playoff lives. It's 8:20 p.m. Christmas night. Tom Brady's going to come in angry. And I think I'm with you. I think he lights him up, and I like Brady in this spot.
Like a Christmas tree?
Like a Christmas tree.
Yes.
Like a wreath with lights on it.
Oh, we're going to have a Christmas show next Monday. I need to get my lights on. Turn my lights off.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, will you be okay? Anyway, we can talk about this later. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about some more lines that might move between now and kickoff. Next. So, Browns -3 is one that I already mentioned. Seahawks +10, I think, moves down. I don't think it gets past 7 or anything like that. Like, that would be a crazy move. But if this line starts ticking up where it's like Chiefs -12, I'd be absolutely panic stricken. I think it comes down a little bit. The Cleveland Browns -3 against the New Orleans Saints. I looked at Deshaun Watson. I don't know if he looked like great on Saturday, but I think you can see obvious incremental progress in his performance over the first 3 games that he's played in.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
You don't have to feel like happy about backing Deshaun Watson. And if you want to fade him, by all means do it. I think this line ticks up though, because the Saints just kind of running out of steam. It feels like, I know they won against the Falcons, but they don't have a lot going for them in terms of that offense, and a little banged up. I think Cleveland gets the job done here.
I am mixed on it, just because the Saints, they beat the Falcons, and now they're only one game out of first place. So there might be a sense of desperation there. Andy Dalton's familiar with the Browns.
I forgot Andy Dalton was involved. Yes.
But in your defense, Brinson, to back up your point, I believe NFC South teams are 1-13 against AFC North teams this year. I don't have the exact number, but I believe that is the number. And that's pretty ugly. So, if they're 1-13, that proves that's kind of a trend. And that's where you say, you know what, probably.
Does that only win the Browns over the Panthers in week 1?
No, the NFC South only has 1 win.
Oh, right. Yeah, it does. Jeez. Again, I don't know what's wrong with my brain right now. I don't even feel.
Is it Brinson's flu game? This is not your.
This is my flu game, maybe. Apparently, right. Next up, I think I mentioned the Seahawks. I think the Cowboys -1.5 against the Eagles. Christmas Eve, 4:25 Eastern. Jerry Jones, huge game for them. We mentioned it. It did feel like the Cowboys might be looking ahead with the Jaguars. Micah Parsons talked incessantly about it. I think this line ends up with the Eagles being favored. I think that's how much it moves.
Ooh. Yeah, I like that. I mean, a 13-1 team, or 12-1, or where they are, 13-1 as an underdog. I just don't think that's going to last long. I know the Cowboys are a popular bet because they are America's team, but I think that common sense will eventually take over. People are going to start hammering the Eagles. And yeah, I agree with that. The Eagles probably close as the favorite here.
I also included the Dolphins, the Miami Dolphins, away from the cold weather. I actually thought they acquitted themselves pretty well against Buffalo in what was a insane game on Saturday night. It feels like we have so much to talk about, like in regards to Saturday and Sunday. Fun 2 days of NFL football. -4.5 against the Packers. Packers are playing on Monday night. How they do against the Rams, and this is sort of more of their Packers are playing Monday night. If they lose to the Rams, and Aaron Rodgers looks awful, and they're just like, we're going to Jordan Love, then you could see this line tick up, I think, because the Dolphins will be in hot pursuit of a playoff spot. The Packers don't have a lot to play for. If they win, they're still in the hunt, but I think this line could move up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, that wouldn't be surprising at all. And this is a Christmas Day game. And like you said, if the Packers lose on Monday and they're totally out of it, that's got to give them incentive to play Jordan Love on Christmas Day. Yeah, I could absolutely see that.
Rams, pick them. Again, this is a sort of a Monday night situation where the Rams are playing the Packers. If the Rams were to come out and beat the Packers, they're a pick 'em against the Broncos. Do we know if Russell Wilson's going to play? Of course not. Do we think that the Broncos might be looking around going, oh, goodness gracious, we scored like almost as many points as any game in that Russell's played with Brett Rippon this week? Oh, crap. What is this contract? Maybe. I think, though, that the Rams, a good performance by the Rams, a try-hard performance with all their stars down, ticks this line in the favor of the Rams. A pick 'em is a pretty good look this early in the week, I think.
Yeah. And you know what? The Rams are a team, as long as Baker Mayfield's their quarterback, they're a team that's going to play hard like they're still in it, because Baker Mayfield wants to win. He's got a lot to prove. You have all these guys out there, so many stars are injured. All those guys out there have a lot to prove too. So, yeah, I could absolutely see the Rams, although Rams Broncos is such a weird Christmas game that I love that it's a Nickelodeon game. That is, I will definitely be watching on Nickelodeon, because that's the type of game that needs to be on Nickelodeon.
Russell Wilson. And so, like, this is the first year we talked about. This is the first year that the Associated Press has expanded the ballots for the awards. Like Pete Prisco and the rest of his cognoscente, to quote the great Dan Hansis, will have 5 names they can list for possible MVP votes, right? In order of your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Somehow Russell Wilson still won't get an MVP vote, but Breech, he can get MVP and get slimed. I feel like if Russell wins MVP, he might decline it. If he can even play, because he may not, may not be able to. And finally, the line that I think could move, Colts +3 against the Chargers. I think that could tick down a little bit, and it's not so much a Colts thing as it is a Chargers thing. Maybe it's both. I mean, I just think Chargers on the road, Monday Night Football, Indy will be rocking. Maybe. I think it's. I don't know. I would lean towards the Chargers in this game, but I do think it comes down a little bit.
Yeah, I have no idea what to make with this.
Yeah, I don't know if I like this.
Colts,
I don't know if I like this.
The Colts giving up 33 points in the fourth quarter to the Cowboys 2 weeks ago, blowing a 33-point lead on Saturday. It's just 33 is their magic number. They might lose by 33. Ooh. So, yeah, I'm not touching the Colts anymore for the rest of the season. That's I'm not even offering an opinion on them. I don't want to talk anything about the Colts. You do all the talking.
As soon as I mentioned that this game is on the list, I was like, I don't want this game on the list. Let's get out of here with that. Yeah. All right, that'll do it for us. Early week 16 betting trends, odds, picks. We'll be back after Sunday Night Football for the recap show. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. For Breech, I'm Brinson. See you guys later.